out to whoever made this beat. YG, you did your thing, but no disrespect. I ain't no nigga. I'ma ride for my motherfucking native. Most likely I'ma die with my finger on the trigger. I've been grinding outside all day with my natives, and I ain't going in unless I'm with my native, 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 my motherfucking native, my native, my native, my native, my native, my native, my native, motherfucking native. Yeah, I'ma ride, I'ma die, and I'ma do it for my natives. So moving and we're moving, and I do it for my natives, for my natives. I put on for my natives, I shoot out for my natives, for my natives. I do this for my natives, I do this for my people, I do this for my tribe, I do this for myself. I gotta stay alive. My natives know what's up, cause my natives going down. Got my natives all around, from my town to your town. It ain't no problem, we do the damn thing. Listen with my BF, 59, 50 fit, it's all red, everything, and you heard me right. I be swooping and we're hooping all damn night. I do this for my natives, I do this for my natives. We keep on hating, but I'm just demonstrating. I'm just demonstrating the ways I was shown. I was born and bred for the rest, that's why I call it home. You can leave me alone if you don't solve problems. Me and my natives, yeah, we always gotta solve some. Cause that be so we can need to get about the day. I'ma ride, I'ma die, I'ma do it for my natives. I'ma ride for my
green-spirited bucket seat. $5,000, $4,000. Stay home for you.
You're selling IKEA totes for like $2,600 or some shit. Did you see the bums carrying wine bottles into the liquor store to get more wine? Yeah.
Reservation is the place I wanna find. So you better recognize I'm not stopping till I stop until my day of expiration and they hit my end of time. It's one of the expectations that I'm gonna live by. Savage, I'm a desert, always represent my kind. A number explanation, you already know why. My natives, I'ma ride for my motherfucking natives. Most likely I'ma die with my finger on the trigger. I've been grinding outside all day with my natives, and I ain't going in unless I'm with my native, 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 my motherfucking native, my 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 motherfucking native. Go out to whoever made this beat. YG, you did your thing, man. But no disrespect. I ain't no nigga. I'ma ride for my motherfucking natives. Most likely I'ma die with my finger on the trigger. I've been grinding outside all day with my natives, and I ain't going in unless I'm with my native, 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 my motherfucking native, my 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 motherfucking native. Yeah, I'ma ride, I'ma die, and I'ma do it for my natives. So moving and we're hooping, and I do it for my natives, for my natives. I put on for my natives, I show out for my natives, for my natives. I do this for my natives, I do this for my people, I do this for my tribe, I do this for myself. I gotta stay alive. My natives know what's up, cause my natives going down. Got my natives all around, from my town to your town. It ain't no problem, we do the damn thing. Listen with my BF, 59, 50 fit, it's all red, everything, and you heard me right. I be swooping and we're hooping all damn night. I do this for my natives, I do this for my natives. We keep on hating, but I'm just demonstrating. I'm just demonstrating the ways I was shown. I was born and bred for the rest, that's why I call it home. You can leave me alone if you don't want problems. Me and my natives, yeah, we always gotta solve some. Cause that beef so we can eat and get about the day. I'ma ride, I'ma die, I'ma do it for my natives. I'ma ride for my motherfucking natives. Most likely I'ma die with my finger on the trigger. I've been grinding outside all day with my natives, and I ain't going in unless I'm with my native, 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 my motherfucking native, my 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 motherfucking native. Yeah. Riding for my natives for the duration of my life. Non-reservation is the place I wanna find. So you better recognize I'm not stopping till I cop until my day of expiration and they hit my end of time. It's one of the expectations that I'm gonna live by. Savage, I'm a desert, always represent my kind. A number explanation, you already know why. My natives, I'ma ride for my motherfucking natives. Most likely I'ma die with my finger on the trigger. I've been grinding outside all day with my natives. native, and I ain't going in unless I'm with my native, 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 my motherfucking native, my 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 motherfucking native. Yeah. Let my nuts hang while I'm hustling. Ain't in the dope game, but I rap slang. Did it like cocaine when I rock lanes. Let the trunk bang like I bust bangs. Let my nuts hang while I'm hustling. Ain't in the dope game, but I rap slang. Did it like cocaine when I rock lanes. Movies authentic, keeping clothing homemade. Got balls on me like my phone got paid. Drinking in, driving, swerving all different ways. My mind stays stuck in the same ass name. Maybe I should write this, or maybe I should like that. No, I don't like this, and no, I don't like that. I want you to feel the shit more than these hats. Money to the shit, I don't wanna hear my rhymes whack. I ain't beat around the bush, I be around the block. I ain't even know we put you fucking on the side. I don't even really push to make it to the top. Style that cushion, the all in the dreams of far fit, how I'ma go catch it. You ain't seen bars yet, this is just a message. Bringing that hard shit out of low like a weapon. Packing some hard thing in case I put a trunk bang like I bust bangs. Let my nuts hang while I'm hustling. Ain't in the dope game, but I rap slang. Did it like cocaine when I drop lanes. Let the trunk bang like I bust bangs. Let my nuts hang while I'm hustling. Ain't in the dope game, but I rap slang. Did it like cocaine when I drop lanes. To get my golden place. These words are shots that you take with no chase. Life without me is like a song without bass. Done killed the beat, now I caught a murder case. Switch up my motive just over my personality. Got my mind on the dream to become a reality. Mortal Kombat, turn a rapper to fatality. You can tell me shit unless it's coming with a salary. And I work for you, no worker. Started paying attention to the rich observers. Inject the truth, firm, but without my murder. Thought I couldn't cross the line and took a step further. Rather be respected and have everyone in fear. I have the dopest vision, I can see it real clear. You can call my shit mystical, me right here. So ahead of my time, I'm past like years. Let the trunk bang like I'm hustling. Let my nuts hang while I'm hustling. Ain't in the dope game, but I rap slang. Addicted like cocaine when I drop flames. Let the trunk bang like I bust things. Let my nuts hang while I'm hustling. Ain't in the dope game, but I rap slang. Addicted like cocaine when I drop flames.
Booty on my hip. Damn, son, I gotta reload it like a gun. Time them just for fun. They wanna see me with my hands out begging for funds. They ain't gonna see that shit cause I really make runs. They saying that they gotta get the job done. And when my crew come, they ain't gonna say no more in the slump. They gonna be deceased from head to toe. They ain't gonna breathe no more. Ain't gonna see no tree. Ain't no more paradise down here. It's only heaven up. You won't get a chance no more down here. I ain't showing no fear. I gotta ride for my other side. And they gotta ride for me. Cause they gotta say that they'll die for me. They gotta shine for me. If I shine on my own, then fuck, they won't lie for me. They won't lie for me. They won't die for me. I'm in this thing. Haters ain't gonna shine with me. They ain't shining with me because I put them all in the past. I told all these haters cut them off and all to kiss my ass. Haters don't love it. I ball just like Nash. Saying that they wanna ball, throwing bins in the trash. I'ma hit it up like fuck you haters. I gotta see it later, like fucking adding up my stacks with the calculator. Saying that they wanna brave something just like braver. I'ma be braver than you, probably be the first heartbreaker. I never broken hearts before, but I just might take you. Shit boy, I gotta remix this shit like a bitch gotta read this.
No lineup in the
I
store.
go angel dust and watch the angels bust. I ain't got no trust, but the angels must. I'm for play for gold, they so plain on us. Run away, they
come park
They
the
all
plane
go
on
at 5
us.
o'clock.
Watch my gator truck. You hate
Every
your fuck.
fucking day.
Even outside the restaurant, they gotta wait on us. Then we free, ain't no cake on us. C3 and new leaf, we so fucking dangerous. Yes, we some kind of dangerous. The truck gets us from where the bangers fuck. We bomb on, then you haters fuck. Yo, your potato then make your tater butt. Yeah, I'm still smoking on the angel dust. Not just promoting, I'm an angel, keep my halo up. Stay low, plus I'm low, high, can hear heaven. And I bet you not rolling seven. Like I'm rolling seven. Rolling with my brethren. High as a kite, suggest you get paranoid. Finger on the trigger when you hear noise. Don't come fuck with the fairy boys. Won't get fucked from the fairy boys. We the new cheese, watch the women hang on us. Like I said, C3 a new leaf, we so dangerous. I smoke angels just to watch the angels fuck. I ain't got no trust but the angels must. I'm so flavorful, they so plain on us. Run away, they come park the plane on us. Watch my gator truck. You hate or fuck, even outside the restaurant, they gotta wait on us. And we free, ain't no chains on us. C3 and new leaf, we so fucking dangerous. Oh, my mind is going through those changes. I'm only comfortable in the company of strangers. To tell you I'm an orphan if you meet my family. Half the time, even my family can't stand me. I'm a Martian, right? On a Martian flight. Just trying to find another Martian life. I fear I'll die alone, a stone on a deserted beach. No, I can teach, so I just do. And my mind is better than you, that makes me better than you. And I don't make the rules, so don't get pissy. My life is fine, and you live in shitty. The acting law, only strong survive. And I don't just survive, I multiply. And I don't just fly right ahead and classify. So I'm at the clear port with the clear view. Can't see none of y'all bastards in the rear view. I smoke angel just to watch the angels fuck. I ain't got no trust but the angels must. I'm so flavorful, they so plain on us. Run away, they go park the plane on us. Watch my gator truck, you hater fucks. Even outside the restaurant, they gotta wait on us. And we free, ain't no chains on us. C3 and new leaf, we so fucking dangerous. I'm sicker, a combination of symptoms that hit you quicker than liquor. I'm fitting to leave you all feeling like victims. Genocide on my mind, I'm thinking like Hitler. Ain't nobody like Osama. I'm rocking most generations, that's your mama. I'm a president, no Obama. Feet up, feet cut, roll the ganja. Mr. C3, no mystery, me, be history, see? Sit a crib, take a pic, with my dick and texting it to your chick. So sick, that's how I roll. Never such alone, always got a couple hungry bitches begging for the bone. And your chick's begging at my phone, begging for a banging in her hole. I go deep like a mole, and I ain't fussy. I love all the fushy, the angel rushing me. I ain't got no trust with the angels. I'm so flavorful, they so plain on us. Run away, they go park the plane on us. Watch my gator truck, you hater fuck. Even outside the restaurant, they gotta wait on us. And we free, ain't no chains on us. C3 and new leaf, we so fucking dangerous. We so fucking dangerous. We so fucking dangerous.
It's not even 10 o'clock, man. Fuck.
There's nothing you can do could make me run away from this clash, yeah. This clash, yeah. And there is no DJ can put the competition to danger. 4, 3, 2, 1, the slack is track. Got 43 saved for the package. They get their views up and then they take advantage. We kill it from the inside, baby. Miscarriage for the cabbage. Wrestle a savage, get a bandage. Niggas couldn't manage. Suplex on the canvas. I'm Randy Savage. You know that's a work of art. Silhouette, my niggas slide when you wear the parts on parts. I can have that way. From the part out there, so freeze with a card that slave. Don't watch my age, just watch when I pop my kids. I fight engaged when niggas wouldn't watch them ways. I'm not amazed at y'all. Talking Panthers, chop for trade. That nigga, we been spot the place and drop the strays with the strap that I got in case. It's like a hurricane, the niggas gotta rock the place. So what my dudes now? Let my dude they been doing now. When you stop, get it like a U-Haul and move round. Kids got my music in class, spreading the schools down. The demon killed Jesus, get some king of the Jews now. A shot blasted was blasphemous. Rip this piece off, Jesus went to Nazareth. You getting money, we gon' tax them all. We can slap the back and forth, nigga, like a racquetball. Bike crash, niggas still rapping when I had crap my job. Got a new strap, see the body I can practice on. You niggas make this easy, call Keezy. Niggas disrespecting her set, she get TT. Couldn't take a shit on this paper, it's not TP. Motherfucker, now mom told me to drink green tea. I gotta couldn't wash these bags. I got an AR in this hockey bag. See, that's the most basic. When I step out the matrix, try to give you a playlist. I put that on my handkerchief. I'm from a gang of Crips. Donkey Kong when they're banging off a banana clip. LL when a nigga getting that cannabis. Roast out whenever they beating niggas on cameras. We transport weight, it's grams. On a scale top, the word looks strong enough to bribe or have your bell product. Fuck house arrest and go visit you with the bell cops. You're not home, I promise that you gon' see what that bell does. You're from the projects, then you gon' catch the concept. From 007 the rock collapse, you're in the complex.
And cases reported in Louisiana, Michigan, California, Massachusetts, and Illinois. Symptoms include prolonged fever, severe abdominal pain, and having trouble breathing. 3 more residents of a Mississauga long-term care home facing one of the province's worst outbreaks have now died. A spokesperson says it brings the death toll of Camilla Care community to 50. There's 62 active cases of the coronavirus among residents at the facility located near Queensway West and Hurontario Street. 49 residents and 12 team members have since made a full recovery. And Quebec's Public Health Institute says deaths could spike in the Greater Montreal area if physical distancing measures designed to limit the spread of the virus are lifted. New projections show deaths could rise to 150 a day by July, and the Institute says new cases could soar to 10,000 a day by June. Premier Francois Legault has announced that retail stores in the Greater Montreal region can reopen on May 25th and says he'll keep close tabs on the situation there before deciding whether daycares and schools can unlock their doors as well. Montreal has recorded 18,435 cases of COVID-19 and 1,727 deaths, making it the worst hit part of the country. You're listening to All News Radio 680 News. U.S. regulators have approved a new type of COVID-19 test that administration officials said could be a key to reopening the country.
The Food and Drug Administration has given emergency authorization for antigen tests developed by Quidel Corporation. Currently, the only way to diagnose active COVID-19 is to test a patient's nasal swab for the genetic material of the virus. While considered highly accurate, the tests can take hours and require expensive specialized equipment. Antigen tests can diagnose active infections by detecting the earliest toxic traces of the virus, rather than the genetic code of the virus itself. Quidel says the test can provide an accurate automated response in 15 minutes. Ben Thomas, Washington.
Investigators are underway in the U.S. after 3 young children died in New York and New Jersey, with COVID-19 being the cause of at least one of their deaths. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy said yesterday a 4-year-old child had died from the coronavirus. This is the first death in the state in anyone under 18. The only additional detail given was that the child had an underlying health issue. Also, yesterday, New York's governor said a 5-year-old boy died of an illness possibly linked to the coronavirus. Governor Cuomo said there have been 73 reported cases in the state of children becoming severely ill with symptoms similar to Kawasaki disease and toxic shock syndrome. Westchester County health officials say they're investigating the death of a 7-year-old boy who tested positive a month ago for the coronavirus and had the antibodies when he died. I'm Julie Walker. 680 News Time, it's 9:51. That means it's time for traffic and weather. Together, here's Colette Desjardins. And this report is brought to you by Roto-Rooter Emergency Services. The highways are in pretty good shape right now around the Toronto area, but we do have construction
like
on
Spider-Man and
southbound
Batman are
404
about to come
16th
out.
Avenue. 2 right lanes are blocked. If you're on
We
16th
never know, we're all
Avenue,
inside,
the
right?
routes to the southbound 404 remain closed, but the southbound 404, the volume has basically eased off, so we're not seeing any major delays. We also have some work in Mississauga. It's on Dixie Road, both ways.
You putting in
Between
what
Virginia
you got
and River Road. That's your
Be my nigga, hold up smoking fire shit. Be my niggas, with this shit with some savages. Be my nigga, stay with us so bad, bitch. Always smoking on gas with us. All the papers don't pass us. We ain't nothing like the mother guys. Fuck with us, you went for a surprise. All the papers, you know how we get. Smoking on medical, each individual. Bad bitches additional. Brought them with us intentional. Just so you can see the visual. We get it to you, you run it to my gang. All of the fucking shit. That shit will be playing space game. That shit beat them all. Get them all. Watch us cricket, never miss a beat. Lurking down the street. He be coming, we coming, nigga. It's in the prophecy. Street gas, and the cases are successful. Nigga, come and get some gas. Street loud, then they know mouth. Squad deep, Nyneteen, we be on the scene. Tripping, leaving puddles. All over you niggas sleeping promo. I roll stuff like gas. They feel them and drip my swag. Niggas are sick of their dad. Finesse me a pack trying to give me a bag. Gang tight on my chest. BBS diamonds on my neck. Bully real running through my flesh. Let them nail running up. Don't watch what I'm doing. Can do with the movement. You know I'm in love with the mullah. Talking about money and speaking in fluent. Just listen cause I'm about to school you. So get you a sack. Don't fuck with a pack. Flip it and double it back. Half of your flip. Half of your stash. Never spend all your cash. Be my niggas. Hold up smoking fire shit. Be my nigga. With this shit with some sense. Be my nigga. Stay with us some bad bitches. Always smoking on gas with us. All the papers don't pass. We ain't nothing like the mother guys. Fuck with us, you went for a surprise. We ain't nothing like the mother guys. Fuck with us, you went for a surprise. Every day we be lit. All the papers, you know how we get. Smoking on medical, each individual. Hitting us like it's physical. Bad bitches additional. Brought them with us intentional. Just so you can see the visual. We get it to you, you run it to my gang. All of the fucking shit. That shit will be playing space game. That shit beat them all. Get them all. Watch us cricket, never miss a beat. Lurking in the street. We be coming, we
That's
coming.
not the last
Nigga,
track,
it's in the
man.
prophecy.
It's 86 cents. It's supposed to be 93. It's 86.
Right behind the scene, get behind me, sipping on the gin. Them hoes stay down when it's sticky. All my niggas rally with me. I be feeling trippy, flowing in the way. The shorty wanna talk for the night, wanna talk for this life. I feel I never want this shit to end. For the dough, my nigga. For the dough, my nigga. Never want this shit to end. Do this for my SG, ride a GZ Loki right behind the scene, get behind me, sipping on the gin. Them hoes stay down when it's sticky. All my niggas rally with me. I be feeling trippy, flowing in the way. The shorty wanna talk for the night, wanna talk for this life. I feel I never want this shit to end. For the dough, my nigga. For the dough, my nigga. Never want this shit to end. Do this for my SG, ride a GZ Loki right behind the scene, get behind me, sipping on the gin. Them hoes stay down when it's sticky. All my niggas rally with me. I be feeling trippy, flowing in the way. The shorty wanna talk for the night, wanna talk for this life. I feel I never want this shit to end. Never want this shit to end. For the dough,
I got a style like this, my nigga ain't just this. Strap with the black and practice and speak sex with the world, cause my trophies leave, they move back. So once I used to post on the block and broke, now what's next? All I see is money in my vision. Homie, I paint pictures when I'm spitting, me and them niggas different. We can never be the same, niggas snitch, tryna blame it on niggas that wanna share. Shoes, Gucci belt, niggas know I'm back, my name is gon' hurt. When I'm 9 grades, connect to your brain in 2 stops. To be better if you sit in your lane, I'm in for the dome, my niggas ain't any dome, for the dome. I got a pack of 4 case a nigga tryna stunt, then I lead him to the flow. You already know how I go. Anything goes for the dough. For the dough, my nigga, I'ma have to get it in. For the dough, I'm about to go and get it in. I do this for my SG, ride a GZ Loki right behind the scene, get behind me, sipping on the gin. Them hoes stay down when it's sticky. All my niggas rally with me. I be feeling trippy, flowing in the way. The shorty wanna talk for the night, wanna talk for this life. I feel I never
never want this shit to end. Do this for my SG, riders, Jeezy, Loki, right behind the scene, get behind me, sipping on the gin. Them hoes stay down when it's sticky, all my niggas riding with me, I be feeling trippy, blowing in the wind. The shorty wanna fuck for the night, pour a cup for this life. I feel I never want this shit to end. For the dough, I be taking risks. I make a flip, another take all of my flip quick. In 24, they can tell me that I ain't the shit. I ain't the fucker for some niggas to be playing with. I spray the fifth and now I'm SG, nigga been about it for the last tunnel vision. Now I'm seeing getting money, it's my fetish. My team say you don't fuck, nigga, be competitive. If I pull the top out, then everybody gon' get it. Make a bird, then my nigga Joe ready to slide. I'm laid back, put your whole bite to get up inside. I always been a real nigga and I never would hide. I used to work a 9 to 5, but it's better to grind. Getting high off the weed I smoke, I gotta keep the heater close, you know I do my toes. All the shit I seen before niggas will leave you go. I told my nigga Teasy, go, that we can sneak some dough. For the dough, my nigga, I might have to get it in. For the door, I'm about to go and get it in. I do this for my SG, riders, Jeezy, Loki, right behind the scene, get behind me, sipping on the gin. Them hoes stay down when it's sticky, all my niggas riding with me, I be feeling trippy, blowing in the wind. The shorty wanna talk for the night, pour a cup for this life. I feel I never want this shit to end. For the dough, my nigga. For the dough, my nigga, never want this shit to end. Do this for my SG, riders, Jeezy, Loki, right behind the scene, get behind me, sipping on the gin. Them hoes stay down when it's sticky, all my niggas riding with me, I be feeling trippy, blowing in the wind. The shorty wanna fuck for the night, pour a cup for this life. I feel I never want this shit to end.
I gotta talk like this. See my nigga Ox. Blunt fingers for niggas who speak the cops. Man, I'm back on my bullshit. Nigga really came before I'm in too deep. And I never shoot a play with slugs. Lock like they met, but they soft like a ladies bunch. Laughing at your team like who the fuck rock the Brady bunch. It's on the beat for the beat, I'm not the latest stuff. Someone got the team, I'm not trying to make it pay for us. Be like two storming thunder, I got. It's the truth, he ain't the truth, man. He's under disguise. I bump down, but still under disguise. I ain't slept there how long. Can't you see the bags under my eyes? Flat how I ain't living yet. Used to rush a pack a day. Never smoked a cigarette, but now I smoke a pack a day. From the 6th grade, I've been scrapping with this gang. Get wet, like a nigga that can trap me in the brain. I'm trapped in the game, no love, no harm. I see the same niggas that been working my work. Got no fuck, they come from the top. Cause the nigga got no love. Never said my side, the niggas.
Food banks across Canada. Many only have enough food for the next 2 weeks. When you donate to Food Banks Canada, every dollar can be stretched further to help our fellow Canadians, your neighbors who are in need. It's time to step up to the plate and donate. Please give what you can at foodbankscanada.ca.
In times like these, shouldn't your money work even harder for you? We think so. That's why at Duca Credit Union, you get no-fee checking accounts. You also get high interest on deposits and investments, and low mortgage rates. Plus, you get to share in the profits. That's the Duca difference. And now, get rates as low as 2.49% on a 5-year fixed mortgage when you switch to Duca. Find out how at mortgage.duca.com. Do more, be more, achieve more with Duca Credit Union. Conditions apply.
5 degrees in downtown Toronto, 6:80 news time. It's 10 o'clock.
Number one for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News, Toronto.
Good evening. This is Saturday, May the 9th. I'm Eden Tabata.
And good evening. I'm Carlin Donahue. Here's what's making news right now.
Well, you can't camp yet, but Ontario Parks and Conservation Reserves are reopening for day use just in time for the May long weekend. A new emergency order has been passed allowing school teachers to volunteer at local hospitals and long-term care homes.
Restaurants are implementing heightened safety measures to help prevent the spread of COVID-19.
And Mother's Day is right around the corner. We'll have some ideas on how to celebrate the special day while in quarantine coming up.
UFC 249 is in full swing in Jacksonville, and the NBA continues to work on its plan. Sports at 15.
And coming up in business, some companies will be forced to sell out due to the pandemic, according to a mergers and acquisitions specialist.
680 News Time, 10:01. It's time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Colette Desjardins.
Thanks, and this report is brought to you by 407 ETR. We've got work on the eastbound 407 from Britannia to Derry Road. 2 left lanes are blocked for construction. No delay at the moment, but just keep in mind if you're on Britannia, either east or westbound, the ramps to the eastbound 407 remain closed. Also, some work on the southbound 404 at 16th Avenue. No delays. 2 right lanes are shut down down until Monday. But right now, if you're on 16th Avenue, no access to the southbound 404. Otherwise, the rest of the major routes and expressways around the Toronto area are in great shape, lightly traveled at the moment. Keep in mind, if you're on Dixie between Britannia and Drew Road is just north of Derry. Both directions on Dixie through that stretch, it's only one lane. You're sharing one lane, so it was causing a bit of delays through that stretch. And also northbound Don Mills, we've at Fairview, we've got construction blocking the left turn lane and the 2 left lanes. 407 ATR is proud to be United Way's first corporate partner in Canada to make a multi-year investment, sending $4 million to help the GTHA recover from COVID-19. Your next traffic report is at 10:11. But right now, let's get the forecast. Jason Fraser.
Well, across the area, we're going to continue to see mostly cloudy skies. I am not expecting any moisture to develop for the rest of tonight. However, there might be a slight chance of seeing 1 or 2 flurries in the overnight into the early morning hours. We'll see temperatures dipping down below the freezing mark. The overnight low tonight is -2.
5 degrees right now downtown Toronto with a partly cloudy sky, and 4 degrees at Toronto Pearson Airport. 6:80 news time. It's 10:03. You'll be able to take in the great outdoors over the long weekend next week for free. The federal government has approved the reopening of provincial parks, but use will still be limited. 680's Michelle Mackey joins us with those details. More than 500 provincial parks and conservation reserves are set to reopen on Monday. Premier Ford giving day use for walking, biking, and hiking the Green Line, but setting some strict limitations as well.
Camping, playgrounds, and beaches will continue to be closed.
Ford says he's trusting people to follow public health measures, including physical distancing within the parks. Jeff Urich, Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, also asks that you come prepared.
While staff are working as hard as they can to get provincial parks ready to open, they will not have washrooms or drinkable water right away. It's important that you come to the park prepared with hand sanitizer, extra water, and other supplies.
The province says the slow phase-in approach to opening parks will help ensure the health and safety of visitors and staff. I'm Michelle Mackey. 680 News Time, 10:04. Ontario has implemented an emergency order allowing school employees to be voluntarily redeployed to congregated care settings. The government says institutions such as hospitals, long-term care homes, retirement homes, and women's shelters are in need of staff, including custodial and maintenance workers. Laura Walton, president of CUPE's Ontario School Board Council of Union, says the work would include clinical care.
Things like doing recreational support for residents in long-term care and retirement homes, where they're connecting them with their family through iPads and FaceTime and Skype, that kind of thing.
Staff that voluntarily redeploy would maintain their employment with the school board and continue to receive their compensation and benefits. Well, in another step in the right direction, non-essential businesses begin to open and curbside pickup becomes the norm, but health officials still weary as the signs of community spread continue. Here's 680 Stuart McGinn.
The lowest daily tally in more than a month. That's the highlight for Ontario, seeing 346 new cases today, along with 59 new deaths, while the record number of tests were completed, surpassing 19,000 for the first time. It comes after a spike in cases yesterday, where 55% of them were linked to community spread. Still a concern for Ontario's top doctor.
There's a tendency to let your guard down and then get that exposure, and you find out that that group that you're with, that you're living with, you found out later someone was positive. So I think there's some ongoing transmission there.
Dr. David Williams says it's perplexing that the province still isn't making major headway on this, adding if people aren't taking physical distancing seriously, this all could last even longer. Still good news as the number of new cases continues to see a decline, and Ontario takes another slow step of its own, allowing hardware and other supply stores to reopen today. I'm Stuart McGinn.
After they began mass testing last week, Toronto Western Hospital is reporting another outbreak of COVID-19. Toronto Star reporting the hospital had previously declared outbreaks in 4 different units with 19 patients and 46 employees testing positive in total. It's currently unknown how many have tested in this most recent outbreak. A hospital outbreak can be declared when there are at least 2 hospital-acquired cases within 14 days.
Well, there's some good news for Canadians who've been unable to return home during this pandemic. Lori Paris of Canadian Press reports.
Dozens of Canadians working on 2 cruise ships prevented from docking due to COVID-19 concerns are finally being allowed to return home. Princess Cruises says it will supply flights or rides home to 19 Canadians who disembarked from the Cummings Dam in Los Angeles on Friday. Another 53 Canadians are scheduled to leave the Emerald Princess in Fort Lauderdale, Florida today and will be flown to Toronto on a chartered flight. From the Canadian Press, I'm Lori Paris.
680 News Time 10:06. Some businesses may be reopening, but many are still suffering from the pandemic. Eric Natividad with City News spoke to Ashley Lloyd, the co-owner of the White Lily Diner in Toronto, about how they've managed to stay afloat.
The owners here are preparing for what a post-pandemic dining experience may look like, but they say depending on what the new guidelines are, even if they have customers in those seats, many businesses may still not survive. Co-owner Ashley Lloyd had to lay off her entire staff back in March when dine-in services in the city were forced to shut down. In the weeks since, she and her partner have been keeping their heads above water through government subsidies, and more recently by offering specialized meal kits. They're now turning their attention towards how they'll be able to offer safe service in their small, intimate diner.
Whether or not it's, whether it's every other table that can be set, if it's got, the physical distancing, if it's all of our staff having to wear masks and gloves, plexiglass partitions between booths.
But with so little revenue, they haven't yet made investments in those changes until guidelines are given. Eric Natividad, City News.
680 News Time 10:07. The labor market has been greatly impacted by this pandemic. Statistics Canada reporting more than 3 million job losses since March. 680's Tim Hurd spoke to a federal minister on the matter.
Minister of Families, Children and Social Development, Ahmed Hussein, says this is immensely concerning.
We understand the impact that has on individuals, on families. We sympathize each and every person.
Now, once we get past this pandemic, he says employment recovery depends on each sector of the economy. However,
there's no question that this pandemic has already had a significant impact on our job market.
So the Trudeau government is hopeful the support they have provided to workers and businesses will
enable a strong and quick recovery.
And they will continue to be there for all Canadians, families, and businesses. I'm Tim Hurd.
680 News Time 10:08. While many of us are waiting to get back to work, a psychologist suggests families will have a lot to cope with when we do. 680's Mike Lloyd says teens especially might have a tough time not rushing back into socialization.
Young people will have to balance the desire for social interaction with the need to take it slowly. University of Victoria psychology professor Catherine Costigan says it is up to parents to educate them about what will be allowed.
Rather than approaching teenagers in an enforcement and obedience way of trying to constrain adolescents, I think you can really engage them in thinking about kind of what is safe and what might be going too far.
Costigan also says for parents who have seen the home as a safe space during isolation, there may be a real sense of vulnerability easing it back to the outside world. And for others who thrive on social interaction, it will be a welcome relief. I'm Mike Lloyd.
So you don't have anything for Mother's Day tomorrow. Don't worry, no judgment here. 680's Tim Chapman can help.
Okay, sure. You're running out of time, but that doesn't mean you're out of luck. There's lots of ways you can show your mom that you care. Give Mom a break, have breakfast delivered. Besides, you don't need to be Gordon Ramsay to make eggs and toast.
Where's the lamb sauce?
Come on, Tim.
All right, Gordon. Well, if you don't have lamb sauce, go sentimental with a framed photo of a special moment, or even take it one step further and make a photo album. Maybe you're not too crafty, no worries. Go with Old Faithful, make some flowers, and a handwritten card. If nothing else, give Mom a little virtual FaceTime, and that's a surefire way to give her a smile on her special day. I'm Tim Chapman.
This is 680 News.
Now, 680 News gas price update. Emperor predicts the price of gas will stay the same at midnight. We're holding at 92.9 cents a liter at most GTA stations. Traffic and weather together next. 680 News Time 10:10.
Find a car today, a much better way. Visit OntarioCars.ca.
Listen, my friend, an offer little advice. Why scour the city looking for a used or new car when you can easily visit OntarioCars.ca and find out.
Never showed up, waved in my hands at the level on my shoulder. Said I wouldn't stop and I got shot with a cold box. But it's getting in the streets, nigga, so rock.
Whatever horrible things you
Nigga, so rock, rock my connect whenever the dope slopes up. Yo, I'm in the streets, nigga, so rock, rock my connect whenever the dope slopes up.
My nigga, I'ma have to get it in for the tour. I'm about to go and get it in. I do this for my SG, riding GZ Loki right behind the CD, get behind me, sipping on the gin. Them hoes stay down when it's sticky, all my niggas rally with me. I be feeling trippy, blowing in the wind. The shorty wanna talk for the night, pour a talk for this life. I feel I never want this shit to end. For the dough, my nigga. For the dough, my nigga. Never want this shit to end. Do this for my SG, riding GZ Loki right behind the CD, get behind me, sipping on the gin. Them hoes stay down when it's sticky, all my niggas rally with me. I be feeling trippy, blowing in the wind. The shorty wanna fuck for the night, pour a cup for this life. I feel I never want this shit to end. For the dough, I'm in the margin, any friend disguise, and I'm thinking dope, and I'm getting pussy, pushing niggas in the center rising. I've been about it, I bang your body, I need like that Bugattis, and got the kind of thing you're putting right through your mommy. Two shooters by me, I'm suited the new Versace and CRP. I call it my click on my crew, I'm popping. You thinking the niggas slipping, I'm gripping, using the shot. I'm ready to make my money, you niggas do it for hobby. This shorty wanna ride it, before they got me roddy, I ain't stopping till I'm in the Benz, ballin' in the Audi. Bitches call a nigga Bobby, I go all in for the profit. You need it, I can get it, if you want it, then I got it. Got it dirty, bitch, and make a nigga harder than a rocket. I'm playing the bitch, I'm feeling like I'm harder with the bracket. I don't give a fuck like a bitch, gotta be making my dough. I'm thinking the minute, I get on my level, my niggas are getting dope. For the dough, my nigga, I'ma have to get it in. For the dough, I'm about to go and get it in. I do this for my SG, riding GZ Loki right behind the CD, get behind me, sipping on the gin. Them hoes stay down when it's sticky, all my niggas ready with me. I be feeling trippy, blowing in the wind. The shorty wanna talk for the night, pour a talk for this life. I feel I never want this shit to end. For the dough, my nigga. For the dough, my nigga. Never want this shit to end. Do this for my SG, riding GZ Loki right behind the CD, get behind me, sipping on the gin. Them hoes stay down when it's sticky, all my niggas ready with me. I be feeling trippy, blowing in the wind. The shorty wanna fuck for the night, pour a cup for this life. I feel I never want this shit to end. For the dough, for the dough.
I'm riding around the city with a stick of sticky icky, no complaining, speeding, rushing, blowing drove. I'm running out of time, I got that money on my mind, and I'm too hard to switch and mix it with the dough. I see these bitches stacking, man, these wannabe rappers talking shit, gee, I better take a note. On the come up, steady rising, some of y'all be steady hiding, I'm colliding, slipping, sliding to your hoe. Low key, no piano. These rappers frontin' like they Lucky Luciano, but they don't know that I'm a goddamn Batman. And when you see me, best believe I raid in black, that's Batman. I turn yell into ghosts, eat them like Pac-Man. No games, throw you out in trash cans, no shame. You want blow, that's no way. That cocaine got your nose red like strawberries from show dice. I get money and sit back and post, man. Chill deep.
Oh, what just happened? No.
For real creep on your day. The city with a stick of sticky icky, no complaining, speeding, rushing, blowing drove. I'm running out of time, I got that money on my mind, and I'm too hard to switch and mix it with the dough. I see these bitches stacking, man, these wannabe rappers talking shit, gee, I better take a note. On the come up, steady rising, some of y'all be steady hiding, I'm colliding, slipping, sliding to your hoe. Low key, no piano. These rappers frontin' like they Lucky Luciano, but they don't know that I'm a goddamn Batman. And when you see me, best believe I raid in black, that's Batman. I turn yell into ghosts, eat them like Pac-Man. No games, throw you out in trash cans, no shame. You want blow, that's no way. That cocaine got your nose red like strawberries from show dice. I get money and sit back and post, man. Chill deep and for real creep on your Dane. That heat leave you with no sleep and no brain. Then you awake with no sneaks and no chain. A black sneak getting shiggity. You know Ray, a fast life living, but still dealing with some slow days. What can I say? That's just what it is, dog. But I gotta get that money for my next of kin, dog. Right around the city with a sticky, icky, no complaining, speeding, rushing, blowing, throw. I'm running out of time, I got that money on my mind, and I'm too hard to switch and mix it with the dough. I see these bitches slacking, man, these wannabe rappers talking shit, gee, I better take a note. On the come up, steady rising, some of y'all be steady hiding, I'm colliding, slipping, sliding to your home.
You already know what it is.
The demon is a liar. He would like to confuse us. But he will also mix lies with the truth to attack us. The attack is psychological, powerful. So don't mix it. Remember that. Do not mix it.
This is real life shit, can't change it for an instant. Blood, sweat, and tears, now everyone's against it. Trying to step in our way, man, your ass will get popped. Got homies on every corner, none afraid to get shot. You hear it drop. Here comes the end of your life. Hollow points cutting through you like the edge of a knife. It's getting harder to see. Step away from the light, cause I'm the devil in disguise. I stole your soul tonight. What? I stole your soul tonight. I'm the devil in disguise. I stole your soul tonight. I stole your soul tonight. I'm the devil in disguise. I stole your soul tonight. I stole your soul tonight. I'm the devil in disguise. I stole your soul tonight. What? Yeah, I stole your soul tonight. Devil in disguise. Stole your soul tonight. As you wake up in the dark and not realizing I'm there, go ahead and reach for the light. You won't find one there. This is the darkness inside, mixed with the pain that you feel. Hear the voices calling out another soul to conceal. You see the tears in the eyes, that's what's causing the pain. Staring at yourself blindly, can't remember the name. Call me whatever you like, but let it be told, I'm the devil in disguise and the possessor of souls. The possessor of souls, the devil in disguise, yeah, possessor of souls. The possessor of souls, I'll be the devil in disguise, the possessor of souls.
Real positive
The possessor of souls, I'll be the devil in
is recommended are indeed working.
Brown also took aim at people throwing used gloves and masks on the ground. He says council's looking at changing the fines from littering to hazardous material charges. The Brampton Cemetery is reopened today to allow for people who want to pay their respects to late mothers and grandmothers on Mother's Day, but it will not be open on Mother's Day itself tomorrow. A maximum of 10 people will be allowed to enter at one at a time, with no more than 5 people per plot. Each visit is set to a limit of 15 minutes. It'll open Monday night from 4:30 until 7:30. Today's visiting hours already over. Central services such as burials and plot sales continue by appointment only. Brampton's 25 other cemeteries remain closed until further notice.
Okay, well that doesn't make any sense.
This is exciting news at 10:19. First it was toilet paper and then flour. Odds are there's something on your grocery list that you haven't been able to get.
Not at
University
all.
of Portland Michael von Nassau talks to the Big Story podcast about how Canada's supply chain works using the flour example.
We like to be outside, we like to barbecue, we bake significantly less than we do maybe in the pre-Christmas timeline. And so they weren't looking to produce a bunch of flour, and then all of a sudden we started buying flour. So the system had to catch up. It's not like we're short of wheat, but we were to a degree short of some of the packaging that we would put that flour in. And so that's what's constrained getting to the market.
Listen to the full episode at thebigstorypodcast.ca or wherever you get your podcasts. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Canada will not pay the full price for medical masks that do not live up to medical standards. Federal officials say about 8 million of 11 million N95 respirators shipped to the government from China have failed to meet specifications. Trudeau says that's not good enough.
We will not be burdened with masks that do not fit our stringent requirements. There are discussions ongoing with them about whether there are alternative uses for these masks. We will not be paying for masks that do not hit the standards that we expect.
Trudeau says the discovery of the faulty masks speaks to the government's rigorous verification system. The Prime Minister did not name the price they will pay for the respirators, which are used to protect against the COVID-19 virus. Here in the city, the anti-lockdown protests returned to Queen's Park in Toronto, demanding an end to emergency orders. For the third weekend in a row, a crowd arrived to wave signs about their displeasure surrounding what they consider to be social issues. 2 weeks ago, Premier Doug Ford referred to anti-lockdown protesters as yahoos as they gathered around Queen's Park in a similar fashion.
What lockdown?
680 News Time, 1021. It's time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Colette Desjardins.
Thanks, and this report is brought to you by AGMRenovations.com. Lightly traveled on all the expressways around the Toronto area. Haven't spotted any problems on the QEW between Burlington and Mississauga. The Gardiner, the Don Valley Parkway, still traveling at the limit into and out of the downtown core.
Guys, the possessor of souls. The possessor of souls, devil in disguise. The possessor of souls.
Feel the pain in your chest, yeah, that's me coming back. Being possessed by the devil is the life that I have. A possessor of souls, another light in the dark. Hear the footsteps in the night, now your ass is in shock. Go ahead and hide, try to make no sound. I know your every thought and action, so you're bound to be found. I'm getting closer. Can you feel my presence here? Cause I'm the devil in disguise, the only person you fear.
The only person you fear, I be the devil in disguise, the only person you fear. The only person you fear, I be the devil in disguise, the only person you fear. The only person you fear, I be the devil in disguise, the only person you fear. What? Yeah, the only person you fear, devil in disguise, the only person you fear. I'm in control of your life, I'm the voice in your pain, I'm the hate in your heart, and the sin in your brain. I'm the death of your dreams, and the loss of your life. I'm the tempted thought of slicing your wrist with a knife. There's no escaping the voice, no turning the time. Your soul is already lost, and I'm making it mine. I'm the devil in disguise, I can take up any form. I'm the feeling of fear when you're feeling alone. Yeah.
You are unclean spirit in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. It is He who commands you. He who flung you from heights of heaven to the depths of hell. Fuck him! It's God! Fuck him, Garrett! On the streets of God! It's God! In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
It's hot and likely around 19 degrees. Our overnight low tonight, -2 degrees.
Right now in downtown Toronto, partly cloudy, 5 degrees, and at Pearson Airport, a few clouds and 4. Coming up at 10:30, we'll have more details on the partial reopening of provincial parks on Monday and how Ontario teachers are being encouraged to help in the fight against COVID-19.
wasn't my name. No one on these flames. Fucking Friday night, I ain't playing no games. I'm that West End chick that was raised in the lane. Had a yeah, you won't believe, pay up, just raise the fee. They call it, but they can't get a hold of me. It's because Friday BT, raise the floor for the scene. If the work ain't clean, don't come for me. They show up before, but they don't want to come around. I'ma ride this wave to the water right now. I'ma spark this blaze to the fire burn out. Cause that's how I'm on before, but I'm all done now. It's fucking Friday night, where the fuck is everybody? I just wanna party, I don't wanna learn. Fucking Friday night, where the fuck is everybody? I just wanna party, I don't wanna learn. I just wanna party, I don't wanna learn. I just wanna party, I don't wanna learn. Fucking Friday night, where the fuck is everybody? I just wanna party, I don't wanna learn.
Lola, Lola.
Taps into it, like even when I'm not trying, every time the song plays, I notice my actions, everything is connected to the song. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. What are you talking to me? Look at them friends on the jeans. I got no time for a tease. Money is all that I breathe. I got my tricks in my sleeve. I'm a bit of a freak. I just came out of the womb. Need to be speaking my truth. You never stepped in my shoes. I'm pulling up in a few. Niggas don't know what to do. I'm taking all of the loot. Whoa, I got my feel from the bay. We can be sleeping all day. I got their blood in my veins. I got more gold on my chain. Nigga, I'm going insane. I'm taking all of the hate. I disappear like a ghost. I keep my ducks in a row. I keep that bitch on her toes. Whoa, when you step into my zone, give me a hit on my phone. I get it all for the low. Yo, pull up on your block, wanna please yo. Chillin' with the homies makes it easier. I can sip on 40s, I can sip on this all night. I can sip on 40s, I can sip on this all night. Pull up on your block, wanna please yo. Chillin' with the homies makes it easier. I can sip on 40s, I can sip on this all night. I can sip on 40s, I can sip on this all night. All night. What are you talking to me? Look at them friends on the jeans. I got no time for a tease. Money is all that I breathe. I got my tricks in my sleeve. I'm a bit of a freak. I just came out of the womb. Need to be speaking my truth. You never stepped in my shoes. I'm pulling up in a few. Niggas don't know what to do. I'm taking all of the loot. Whoa, I'm taking it.
Jump in the water, speed that flow, don't go against that flow, speed that flow, jump in that water, speed that flow, don't go against that flow, speed that flow, just jump in that water.
Why you buy a bicycle to sit still? Sit down, stupid.
Speed that flow, don't go against it, speed that flow, jump in that water. Yeah, speed that flow, speed that flow, jump in that water, speed that flow, yeah, don't go against it, be that flow, don't go against it, be that flow, jump in that water, be that flow.
Slice a piece up in the Dutch pot, curry chicken on the stove top, shout out niggas from the stove top, niggas talk but send a gunshot, I fly Aki sauce from my pictures hood, the place run down but it's chefing good, shout out niggas at a driftwood, the shit's wet beyond crip blood, Toronto born and raised, They was never ready every single day, you would be amazed. living how we live. Young niggas grinding stuck up in a maze. Told my nigga Charlie we can get this money, make it different ways. We don't call it no shit.
Now you all watch
no bitch. But I got a full clip and I better no bitch. Better a bitch. And they get it with kids. You know that I hate niggas. Lift them up, how I bitch niggas. Better get back on that defense, nigga. Ready for the right, leave a stretch, nigga. I guess we on the offense. Charlie like Jordan, Scottie Pippen. Better listen on a mission, wishing, hoping that we find a way to beat the competition. Niggas snitching, cotton picking, walk with bitches, talk is different. You know, slipping back to business. Wait, let me slow it down. Still full circle, I go around. Wait, never thought my city was a murder town. Ride like a dungeon dragon. Ran from the cops and my pants were hanging. Used to do dirt in a station wagon. Get locked up in the station flagging. 03, I got you raised the magnum. Bringing out the beast like a Hugh Jackman. Join the team like some new draftsmen. They get the rope like how they do in Hangman. Jump in the water. Just be that flow. Don't go against that flow. Just be that flow. Just be that flow. Jump in that water. Just be that flow. Don't go against that flow. Just be that flow. Just jump in that water. Be that flow. Just be that flow. Jump in that water. Be that flow. Just be that flow. Don't go against it, God. Be that flow. Jump in that water. Be that flow, just be that flow, be that flow, jump in that water, be that flow, just be that flow, don't go against it, be that flow, just be that flow, don't go against it, be that flow, jump in that water, be that flow.
Some clouds and temperatures dipping below the freezing mark. Wherever I live today, it's -2.
Right now in downtown Toronto, partly cloudy, 5 degrees, and at Pearson Airport, a few clouds and 4. 680 news time, 10:32. Well, it's just in time for the long weekend. Ontario's provincial parks reopening, but it's not going to be your typical camping trip. Authorities will continue to enforce physical distancing at the park. CBC's Michelle Mackey has more. This Monday, May 11th, will mark the reopening in 20 provincial parks and conservation reserves, with some limitations. Premier Ford says day access only with no camping. And playgrounds, beaches, and facilities remain closed.
Public health measures must be followed.
Hiking help. Jeff Urick, Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, says before visiting a parks.ca to find out what's actually available.
We also ask that you stay local. Ontarians should still be reducing the amount of unnecessary travel to other areas of the province.
This month, access to provincial parks and conservation reserves. Emergency order allowing school board employees to help essential workers in their fight against COVID-19. Staff can now volunteer in hospitals, women's shelters, long-term care, and retirement homes. Education Minister Stephen Lecce says everyone is willing to help out.
They're helping the province at a time when we need people, public servants, to rise to the challenge. And the fact that there is some expression of interest by some of the unions, some of the members, some of these folks, I think is a really heartening.
The government says that staff who do volunteer will maintain their employment relationship with the school board and continue to receive compensation and other employment benefits. They'll also be eligible for the provincial government's pandemic pay and emergency childcare. 680 News Time, 10:34. Non-essential businesses are starting to open up today, a promising sign towards a return to normal. But as 680's Stuart McGinn reports, signs of community spread are leaving health officials concerned.
We all want to make sure that we get this right. And I know that parents and educators and staff would like some predictability today of what will June look like. And what I can commit to is that, as I've said before, we are working very closely with the Chief Medical Officer of Health and with the COVID-19 command table with the one focus. How do we get students back into schools when it is safe?
680 News Time, 10:35. Non-essential businesses are starting to open today, a promising sign towards a return to normal. But as 680's Stuart McGinn, community spread are leaving health officials concerned.
Today's data shows the smallest number of new cases in more than a month, 346, after a record of more than 19,000 tests were completed, while there were also 59 deaths and 393 new recoveries. It follows a day where numbers spiked, and 55% of them were linked to community spread.
It is still perplexing to me that we're not making major headways going down on that. It makes me wonder if people are not
being consistent in their physical distance.
His top doctor, Dr. David Williams, and his team have maintained that seeing data on community spread go down is what will motivate them to further. For now, the small steps continue as Ontario sees this decline in cases. As of today, all hardware and supply stores have reopened their doors. I'm Stuart McGinn.
60 News Time, 10:36. As case numbers rise, what is the city doing about Toronto? What should be done to protect the city's homeless population?
The system is at capacity. There have been outbreaks in some shelters, and in order to meet social distancing rules, the 7,000 shelter beds have been shifted to locations across the city. Tent encampments are also growing in size and in number, which is a safety concern for the city. Advocates are worried they'll be just
throwing Canadians a lifeline. The emergency support program